Welcome back to Building Character, where we figure out how to play as your favorite fictional characters in Dungeons & Dragons. Remember to vote in the poll and like and subscribe for hotter characters next time you play. Maybe. Hi everyone, quick update about how polls work. YouTube is getting rid of them because less than 0.5% of YouTube creators were using them. So polls for future videos are going to be on my Patreon. I'll put a link up in the top right corner. We set a goal to hit $1,000 a month, and then I'll be able to hire someone to make character sheets. So if you want character sheets and you want to support the channel, go over there. Just got to donate $1 and it helps me get there. I'm recording this on Monday and we're already over halfway there. So if you could, I'd really appreciate it. It's also my birthday, so the reason that we're doing it on Patreon instead of straw poll or Twitter is so that I can get a little bit of a budget going and actually produce better content for you and more content for you. Thank you to everyone who has supported me so far. It means a lot to me. Anyway, enough of all that. Back to the video. Today we're building Roy Mustang from Fullmetal Alchemist because sometimes you want to play a caster and don't want to think too hard about what you're going to cast. There's nothing wrong with choosing a favorite flavor, especially when that flavor is spicy. That's just a joke. I can't handle spicy food. I have the palate of a white kid from Minnesota because I'm a white kid in Minnesota.
According to all known laws of alchemy, there is no way that a homunculus should be able to die. Roy Mustang, of course, kills them